When the ground shook beneath her feet, the walls of her apartment collapsed in an instant. Trapped under tons of concrete, she had no way out. Alone, injured, and barely conscious, she refused to give up. What happened next would shock the entire nation. Emma Carter, a 32-year-old woman living in San Marcos, had always considered her life ordinary. She had a steady job at a small design firm, a cozy apartment, and a mischievous cat named Whiskers who followed her everywhere. She liked routine, simple pleasures, and the quiet comfort of her evening rituals. But that night, life as she knew it ended in a heartbeat. It was 11:37 p.m. when the first tremor shook the building. At first, Emma thought it was a passing truck or the old pipes rattling. Then the ground jolted violently. Books and glass shattered around her, and the ceiling groaned as if it were crying out in pain. In a terrifying instant, the walls collapsed. Dust filled the air, choking her lungs. Concrete pressed down on her legs, and heavy beams pinned her in place. Pain shot through her body, and panic clawed at her chest. But she forced herself to breathe. Her first thought, she had to survive. She tried to reach her phone, but it had been crushed under the rubble. Darkness surrounded her. Silence, except for distant cries and the eerie groaning of the building settling, pressed in. Emma could feel fear crawling through every inch of her body. Yet, a spark of determination refused to die. The first hour was agony. Emma shifted slightly, careful not to worsen her injuries. Dust and debris cut her arms and face. Her legs were numb, almost unresponsive. She focused on tiny victories, moving a small piece of rubble here, adjusting her position there. Every movement counted. She whispered to herself, "I can do this. I will survive." Time became elastic under the rubble. Minutes felt like hours. Emma's body shivered uncontrollably, both from shock and fear. She could hear faint voices, perhaps rescuers or neighbors, crying for help in other parts of the building. Those sounds gave her hope. She tried to call out, her voice hoarse and barely audible, but the concrete swallowed her words, making them echoes of desperation. Emma remembered a survival workshop she had attended years ago. She wriggled and shifted, using her jacket as padding to protect herself from falling debris and to create a tiny air pocket for easier breathing. Every breath was precious. She imagined Whiskers curling up next to her, the morning sunlight streaming through her window, the world outside waiting for her. Those thoughts became lifelines in her mind. As the hours passed, injuries worsened. Cuts and bruises burned with every movement. Her hands were scraped raw, her arms stiff and trembling. Dehydration set in, and exhaustion threatened to overtake her consciousness. But Emma refused to give in. She recited her life story in her mind, focusing on happy memories and loved ones, drawing strength from the life she had built and the life she wanted to continue living. At one point, a faint sound reached her. Drills and shouts. Rescue teams had arrived. Emma felt a surge of adrenaline and hope. She called out, hoarse but determined. She imagined rescuers cutting through the rubble, their lights shining down on her, reaching for her in time. The sounds grew closer, louder, until finally she heard a voice calling her name. Through sheer willpower, Emma managed to shift enough rubble to signal her location. Rescuers worked meticulously, breaking through tons of concrete and metal. Each second felt like eternity, every small sound a lifeline. After hours of painstaking effort, a hand reached her. She grasped it with all the strength she had left, tears streaming down her dust-covered face. "I'm here," she whispered weakly. "I made it." Emerging from the rubble, Emma was battered, bruised, and covered in dust, but she was alive. The city outside had been changed too. Streets cracked, buildings damaged, the chaos of an earthquake leaving its mark. Yet for Emma, the world felt incredibly precious. Every breath of fresh air, every ray of light on her skin was a victory. News of Emma's survival spread quickly. She became a symbol of human courage and resilience. Headlines read about the woman who refused to die, the miracle survivor, and the story touched hearts across the nation. Interviews, social media shares, and local news features highlighted not just her ordeal, but her bravery, patience, and unbreakable spirit. But for Emma, fame was secondary. She thought about every moment trapped under the building, the fear, the pain, the silence, and the hope that had kept her alive. She realized that survival wasn't luck. It was determination, creativity, and refusing to surrender to despair. Her story became a lesson. Even in the darkest, most hopeless situations, the human spirit can endure. Months later, Emma would visit the site of her apartment. Volunteers and engineers had stabilized the building, and a memorial plaque honored the lives affected by the earthquake. Emma placed a small flower at the site and whispered a promise. "I will never take life for granted. I will never give up." Her story was more than survival. It was inspiration. It reminded people everywhere that courage is not the absence of fear, but the determination to push through it. That night, under the collapsed building, Emma Carter showed what one human being could endure when hope refuses to die. And as the sun rose over San Marcos, casting a golden light over the city's recovery, Emma held Whiskers close, feeling the warmth of life, of family, and of a future she had fought so hard to reach. She was alive, and she would never forget the hours that tested every ounce of her strength and spirit.